This is Meet the Board, a My Québec City podcast profiling the board of directors at Voice of English-speaking Québec. In this episode, Kristy Findlay, treasurer of the board, talks about connecting with her Quebec roots after growing up in Ontario, catching her outside, how about that, getting involved with VEC, and her most surprising discovery about the local English-speaking community. So, Kristy, what's your story?
My name is Kristy Findlay. I am a Montrealer, but I was raised in Guelph, Ontario, and moved back to the province in 2007 in Montreal, and then Quebec City in 2010. My husband at the time got a job at the CHUL as a pediatric intensive care doctor. Oddly, in North America, he was the only one available who could speak French, so he got the job quite easily. Although I had done French immersion in elementary school, I did not have functional French at all. So that was a huge challenge. I also found that moving to a new city in your 30s is tricky because people aren't shopping new friends, especially when you don't speak the language. It becomes really, really difficult. And I was transitioning careers at the same time as well. So trying to figure out how I could do that in Quebec City was kind of doubly challenging. I was also pregnant. Because I ended up on bed rest with a complication with pregnancy, I took that time to study very closely the French language and use that time to really, really learn French comme il faut so that I could get into the master's in speech language pathology at the University of Laval. And now I have my own clinic. I opened it up with a good friend of mine. Prior to moving to Quebec, I was already an avid outdoorsy person, so find me in the woods. I'm very happy. Climbing, mountain biking, skiing, all of those sports are fantastic. I love a day outside. Coming to Quebec City, I added definitely trying to connect into the climbing community here was one way that I tried to anchor myself in. I didn't have a lot of success. I think at the time I was also really busy raising young children, as well as masters and establishing a new career. So there was a lot of things going on, not a lot of room for hobbies, but I found that connecting through my kids' school, that allowed me to have community involvement. And then that reminded me that that was one of my core values of something that I really like to do. And that to me brought about a sense of belonging, and that anchored me more into the community. So the VEC board, 10 years ago, I think it's 2016 was my first year on the board. I had a friend, Rebecca Gowans-Boucher, that I had met through some networks through the English-speaking community. It was hard for me to find the English-speaking community when I first moved here. I didn't know about Voice of English-speaking Québec. I didn't know about the Jeffrey Hale. I didn't know about services for young children. But through Rebecca, she was the one that introduced me to the board. She said, hey, there's this organization. They're looking for board members. It's really interesting. Maybe you'd like to join it. And at the time, because I was finishing off my master's, I had all of a sudden more free time. So I joined the board at that point. It was my first board experience in general. It was a big year of learning. I was very quiet on the board for my first year. I knew some of the inklings of the historical aspect of the English speakers within Quebec City, but to really get to know a lot of the layers, a lot of the depth, a lot of the challenges and the evolution of English-speaking Quebecers was really important to be able to have a voice on the board that contributed in a positive way. You know, I think I had imagined that there was some kind of English-speaking neighborhood somewhere, and I just hadn't found it yet. So to understand that we're all spread out across the city, as opposed to a little pocket, the way that in Montreal we have, pockets of neighborhoods of specific cultural identities, to me that was really surprising and adds, in fact, to the dynamic of why it's hard for us to connect with each other as well. I think the biggest thing is to be patient, and permissive with yourself. As much as I'm proud to be an English speaker, I'm proud to be bilingual, and I'm proud to navigate our daily life in both languages, one step at a time. And I think that that's something that is really wonderful. We have a really generous English-speaking community here in Quebec City. Most of us are aware of our Facebook group, Anglophones Living in Quebec City, which is one of the most essential resources as far as I'm concerned. It really is a very generous place where people do support each other for finding a plumber, an electrician. I have a question about this. Does anyone know an immigration lawyer? All of these questions that come up, it is a really good resource. And then to know also that there are community organizations that can help support us to integrate into the city is really important. We are culturally different. It's not just a language thing. There is a cultural difference in the way that we are. And I think having support, knowing that you're not alone in your integration, I think is an important element to kind of be aware of as you come and set yourself up in the new city like this.